What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel with your host that does the absolute most, spiritual intellectual 777 here once again, coming at you guys from the house of greatness. And in today's video, what we're going to talk about is the things people absolutely positively cannot teach you. So basically, you can learn a lot of things in a classroom and from the people around you, but there are just certain things that you quite frankly can't learn from either or, and that you're going to have to learn in your own time. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first point that I want to discuss with you today is happiness comes from within. And a lot of times, many of us associate our happiness with the amount of goals we achieve, the amount of money we accumulate, our relationships, etc., 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 because that's just what society has taught us to be true, when in fact that is far from the truth, right? Because simply those things will only give us a temporary boost of happiness, but it inevitably is gone just like a high. You know what I'm saying? Those things do not bring the everlasting happiness that we're seeking. You know what I'm saying? Pleasure and joy are different from happiness, because pleasure and joy, can only be experienced in a moment. But true happiness is, cultivated for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things that affects your happiness or the lack of it is your thoughts. And so it is really, really imperative that when you first wake up in the morning, that you set intentions for how you want to feel throughout the day. For example, with me, I set intentions as soon as I wake up by saying I set an intention to feel happy, to feel joyous, to feel at peace with myself, and to allow in more unconditional love. That's just what I personally set for myself when I'm doing it in the morning. Your process may be different than mine, or you may not have a morning routine at all, which I do highly, highly, highly recommend that you get you some sort of daily routine that puts you in a zone to get in that state of mind where you're feeling happy and you're pumped and you're motivated for the day. But the sad thing is that what most people do is that they tend to allow themselves to be at the mercy of their day. And as a result, if something unpleasant happens to them, they tend to be in reactive mode like this, and they start immediately reacting to everything, and they allow that one negative thought to lead them to another negative thought, to lead them to another negative thought, and to lead them to another negative thought, which, leads them down this spiral of negativity. And a lot of people say, I have a quote unquote bad day, which is really, the day itself is not bad. It's just that you've allowed your thoughts to go undisciplined, and you started slipping into those series of negative thought patterns, and this wouldn't have happened had you set the foundation for how your day is going to go with your morning routine by setting intentions, just like I said. But this does not mean that, when you start actively working on cultivating a positive mindset on a daily, that unpleasant situations won't happen, because it's inevitable. I mean, it's life. Come on. Life is filled with lots of challenges, you know what I mean? But the difference between you and the average person who just lets themselves be at the mercy of their day is that you can bounce back just like that. And that's what you have to do when you're going through situations that are less than ideal. You know what I'm saying? So let's say, your day is starting off great, right? And then on your way to work, your tire pops. And you can react one or two ways. You can either start going off and start playing the victim, saying like, why me? Like, this sucks and da 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 da, which I'm not saying that it's bad to feel the way that you feel. But the difference between an undisciplined person and a disciplined person is the way that you react to the situation that's presented to you. You know what I mean? In other words, the disciplined person doesn't dwell on that situation. They're constantly seeking the lessons within each situation, right? And so that's what you have to start doing if you haven't started doing that already. Start asking yourself, okay, what is this situation trying to teach me? You know, what am I supposed to be learning in this situation? And then you can just like calmly bring yourself back to your 0 point whenever you go through that particular situation, or you go through any other negative situation in general. You know what I'm saying? And when you start actively working on cultivating a positive attitude, it's going to become a daily habit. And when it becomes a daily habit, then it starts leading to lasting changes in your life, and you're going to be happy 99.9% of the time. Whereas the average person, they're angry and bitter and resentful 99% of the time. Nobody wants to be bitter, right? I hope not. Because if you're watching this right now, I'm assuming that you take your happiness and your mindset very seriously. And by that, I commend you for that. I even commend you for even coming on my channel and watching these videos. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate that 100%. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful for every single viewer that I get, you know, because you can be doing 1,000,001 things right now, but the fact that you're here spending your time watching me talk, I'm forever grateful for that. You know what I'm saying? And according to the law of attraction, you know, your thoughts become things, or like attracts like, which is what I just talked about earlier. You know, one negative thought leading to another, and to another, to another, just like positive thoughts. When you start focusing on positive thoughts, you start attracting more positive thoughts to think. And the more positive thoughts you start to think, the happier you feel. And the happier you feel, the less resistance that you have towards manifesting what you truly want, and the blessings can truly flow to you. And it's just like in geology, where there's certain magma that has high viscosity, which means magma can't flow as fluidly, whereas low viscosity means that it can flow fluidly. So you want to have low viscosity, to where you have, you know, pretty much no resistance at all, and the universe can literally just flood you with a bunch of blessings that you are asking for. You know what I'm saying? And you have to do your part. Excuse me, my throat is getting dry. But you know, you want to lower as much resistance as you can so that your blessings can flow to you easily. And you do that by, you know, making it a habit to think positive thoughts. However, too much thinking can ruin you, because it takes you out of the present moment. And when you're not living in a present moment, you're never ever going to be happy. And there's this saying by John Lennon that goes something like this. And I'm pretty sure that you're familiar with it too. He pretty much says that, you know, life is busy happening while we have other plans. And what he meant by that was, you know, while we're busy in our heads constantly thinking of the next goal we're trying to achieve, and the next accolade we're trying to get, and a romantic relationship, and over obsessing about the amount of friends that we want to make, and, you know, just stuff like that. We just over obsess about every little thing, and most of the things that we obsess about don't even matter in the grand scheme of things. And so us worrying constantly is holding us back from enjoying the present moment. And when you're out of touch with the present moment, you miss out on the aliveness of the environment around you, and, you know, the universe at large. It pretty much becomes deadened in your consciousness, because you're constantly projecting yourself somewhere in this future that you have constructed in your own mind. So the future is nothing but this big old construct that we have in our mind, and the past is nothing but, you know, the memories that is nothing but memories that we perceive from different perspectives, right? And so it is very, very crucial that you stay in tune with the present moment, so that you don't get so caught up in your head and you don't start getting all this unnecessary anxiety and stress. Because think about it, most of the time we're good, ain't no danger happening. But because we live in our heads way too much, we tend to create our own anxiety and stress as a result. And so one way that you can combat this is to simply just tell yourself, come back to the now, come back to the now, come back to the now, come back to the now. Because the moment that you are aware that you are out of touch with the present moment is when you come back, right back into the present moment, and you snap out of this over obsessive thinking about what am I going to eat? What am I going to do tomorrow? What outfit am I going to wear tomorrow? How am I going to do on this test? How is this date going to go? And so that's one way that you can break yourself out of that. So pretty much overall, like, your happiness is dependent on your attitude, right? Because if you have a bad attitude, chances are you habitually think negative thoughts. Whereas if you think happy thoughts most of the time, whereas if you have a positive attitude most of the time, you tend to think happier thoughts. And one more thing that I want to cover before I wrap up this topic is, the only ones that can stop us from experiencing happiness is ourselves. Point blank, period. It's not our mama, it's not our daddy, it's not our significant other, it's not our job, it's not the amount of money we have in a bank account. It is purely 100% our fault that we're not happy. All right? On to the next point. So another thing that people can teach you is self-awareness. Yeah, it's true that, a spiritual teacher or spiritual guru, a life coach or a therapist can equip you with the tools to become self-aware. You have to do the rest by committing yourself to doing the work to becoming self-aware, and to also change those toxic habits that other people point out to you, right? Can't nobody really teach you how to be self-aware. You know what I'm saying? They can offer you guidance and tips and whatnot. But like I said, you have to actively do the work on yourself. And you have to do your own self-awareness work on your own time. Just like I talked about in the last topic about happiness. In order for you to shift your thoughts into positive thoughts, and therefore to a positive attitude, and therefore you live a positive lifestyle, you first have to become aware when you start slipping into those negative thought patterns in the first place. And if you haven't dedicated yourself to doing the work it takes to become self-aware, and then changing the toxic habits and thinking patterns that are ruining your life in the first place, then it's going to be pretty freaking hard for you to really live a positive, productive lifestyle. And another thing that I want to discuss is that you know yourself better than anybody else, bar none. So all of these people that are telling you that they know what's best for you, no the hell they don't. They do not know a damn thing about who you are. You know what I'm saying? They're just going off based of this perception of you and who they think that you are. But you're not actually what they're projecting on you. Just like my significant other told me, last night when I kept talking about, I'm a Sigma male, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been speaking about Sigma males quite a bit. Sigma male this and Sigma male that. And low key, my ego has attached to that identity. And because my ego is attached to that identity, I've mistaken that as the real me. Now, I don't know if that makes any type of sense to you, the viewer that's watching this, but, it sure as hell makes sense to me. But if it doesn't, please feel free to ask me a question in a comment section so I can further clarify this. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna just clarify it to you right now, while this thing is recording, So basically, the ego mind likes to attach its sense of self to whatever identity you cling on to, i.e., like, you know, I am a filmmaker, I am a black man, I am a white man, I am an Asian guy, I am a tech geek, I am a nerd, I am a straight A student. Those are just some examples of, you know, ego identification. And I know you may have good intentions, but the thing is, you are not those things, essentially. You know, you are the spirit that's inside the body. That's who you are. Sorry about that, guys. You know, my camera battery died yet again. It's third week in a row. But anyways, as I was saying, is that, you know, you are not any of those humanistic identities that the ego wants to attach to. Like saying, for example, like, I am, you know, fill in the blank with whatever occupation you are, because I don't know what you do for a living particularly. But I do know this, that is not your identity. That is just something that you do. And one last thing that I want to talk about before I move on to the next point is that, you know, a lot of us procrastinate and distract ourselves from doing the self-awareness work simply because we do not want to face ourselves, because we're afraid of what we'll find on the other side. And one of those, and a couple of examples I have is, you know, partying, gossiping, doing drugs, drinking yourself until you get blackballed wasted, watching trash TV, scrolling on social media endlessly, just looking at foolishness all day. You know what I'm saying? We do all, and playing video games, we do all of this stuff / go to great lengths just so that we do not have to face ourselves. And so I am going to move on to the next point. So another point that I want to cover in this video is doing things because we love to do it, right? You know, and the reason why this is important is because whenever you do something because you love it, you tend to put a great amount of effort in doing it right and being excellent at it. You know, you make excellence a high priority. Whereas if, in contrast, if you're doing something just because you feel obligated to do it, you're not really going to put forth any effort, because you're going to be like, okay, what's the point? Why should I even try hard? You know, there's no point in doing this. Simply because, you know, you don't love doing it. But when you're passionate about something and you love doing it, you are going to go hard in the paint for it, and you are going to do your very best in making it so. And speaking of love, you know, I want to speak on doing what you love. You know, and doing what you love is something that, you know, you are going to have to make a high priority in your life in doing as much as you can. And, you know, if you don't know what you love to do yet, you simply are just going to have to bite the bullet and just experiment and be willing to make loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of mistakes along the way. Because it's going to happen. You're going to go from thing to thing to thing, and you're just going to find out more of what you don't like, just so you can get closer and closer and closer to finding out what it is that you do like, essentially. And so if you have tried like about 100 times and you still haven't found your passion, do not give up. You know, just keep on going. And if you stay patient and you stay vigilant, then you'll discover what you love doing. All right? So on to the next point. So another thing that I want to discuss with you guys today is creativity. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking like, okay, like, dude, how come there's all of these art classes in college and in public schools? Well, the fact of the matter is that they can teach you the technical side of the art form and teach you how to use the different tools to be able to express your creative vision. But at the same time, you know, you have to develop the creativity on your own. You know, you have to be original and be willing to create your own style outside of just the technical mumbo jumbo that they're teaching you in whatever art form that you're in. And so essentially, you know, creativity is messy. And, creativity requires you to be bold and have the willingness to make mistakes on the way to discovering your own voice, your own style, and, creating something new that hasn't even been there before. And one of my favorite examples is Christopher Nolan and him making the film Memento. And that is the very first film that has gotten him mainstream success. Ironically, because in Hollywood, they followed the 3-act structure. They tell you have to follow the 3-act structure, in order to make a successful movie. But he decided to say, bump that. I'm going to tell the story from the end and then go all the way to the beginning and then repeat certain scenes, but from character's perspective. And so the point in me bringing that up is that he was willing to break the rules and create his own style and tell his own story his own way. And that's the same thing that you have to be willing to do along your journey, is the willingness to go outside the norm and break a few rules, and to really just take the whatever craft you're in to the next level by being your authentic self, essentially. So with that being said, on to the next point. All right, so another thing that can't be really taught to you is patience and positivity. Now, I'm not saying that your teachers, your professors, your coaches, your gurus, etc., can't instill these in you and give you some tips. Overall, you have to cultivate these within yourself, like I discussed within the very first point in the video, around happiness being within yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you have to develop these qualities on your own time. And nothing is going to help you do that more than when you are on a path to manifesting, certain goals, or more importantly, being on your spiritual path. And your spiritual path, in my opinion, is going to really, really help you develop that patience. Well, it's not my opinion, it's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Because the spiritual path is going to require you to humble yourself and to really work on your patience and work on cultivating a positive mindset, because otherwise you're going to attract a whole bunch of things you don't want. But essentially, you just have to have that willingness and that burning desire to want to do the work and want to cultivate those qualities within yourself. And so, just so I don't leave anything out, is that, all of this, with the dreams and developing a positive mindset and patience, it's not going to happen overnight. If you have primarily gone through most of your life just thinking negative thoughts and thinking the worst of everything, you're not just going to wake up all of a sudden and start, just being happier and thinking positive thoughts. That's going to happen incrementally over time as you stay consistent with doing your inner work. And so remember this, patience and positivity are qualities that you can develop. All right, on to the very last point. So my bad, guys, actually this is not the last point. This is actually the next to the last point, is that people generally look out for themselves. And it's human nature for us to look out for ourselves, right? Because we want to make sure that we're surviving and that we're good and that our family's good. And in school we do get a preview of this, but it's not until we actually step out into the real world and that we start seeing this to the extreme, especially when it's around money. And certain people will do a lot of devious stuff just to acquire more money in their pockets, right? They'll lie, they'll cheat, they'll steal, they'll do whatever they can in order to get some extra coin, as my family would say, in their pockets. And besides money, whenever you would ask people for help, like for example, especially if you have unhelpful friends, like I've dealt with 2018, that was very apparent. I'm not gonna name any names because I'm over that. I'm not about dissing people or anything like that. But I just noticed that, they just weren't very helpful. In fact, they were taking more than what they were giving me. And so I pretty much had to cut them dudes off and let them loose essentially because they were very toxic and they were just, dragging me down with them, and I didn't want to be drugged down with them. I just said, you know what? Enough's enough. I'm cutting ties with y'all. I had enough of this. Of course, I didn't tell them this. I just stepped away without warning. You know what I'm saying? You just have to do that sometimes with people just for them to realize how much they messed up. But overall, guys, this is a harsh truth that we unfortunately learned the hard way. That people genuinely care about themselves more than they care about you. All right? On to the next point. So the very last point that I want to discuss with you guys is that friends are not as important as you think. And I know that that is a very controversial statement that I just made just now. But the thing is that as we keep growing and evolving in our conscious awareness, we go deeper and deeper into our spiritual past. We start knowing ourselves. We start knowing what we want, what we don't want. We start raising our standards, and we start having these dreams and goals that we want to manifest into physical reality. The thing is that certain people are just going to fall out of your life as a natural result of that. And you may have not meant for that to happen, but that's just the natural order of how things go in this universe. When you essentially don't become a vibrational match to someone or something anymore, especially, if you were friends with a person that wasn't really taking their spiritual growth seriously and wasn't really growing and progressing in their lives, and you start doing so, the gap is just going to get wider and wider and wider and wider and wider and wider until they completely fizzle out of your life. And I know that this is hard at first when you realize this. As a matter of fact, it never gets easier when you keep, quote unquote, losing friends. But at the same time, you have to realize that everybody's on their own journey and everybody grows at their own pace. And not everybody's going to go to the top with you. And so, you have to keep this at the back of your head and not get attached to certain people, right? And so, anyways, you're just going to get new friends that are better for where you are currently on your path as a result. Having friends that are a vibrational match to you and that actually do care about your success and actually do want to grow with you and build with you. But you have to have that willingness to let go of attachments to them old friends that ain't really doing nothing productive with their lives and are not growing with you. You know what I'm saying? So another thing that I want to discuss before we wrap up this video is that friendships in general do not determine your value as a person, right? You are valuable whether you have lots of friends or whether you have a little friends or whether you have no friends. Your worth does not change just because of the quantity of your friends. So you got to realize that next time, you start feeling down and out about not having a whole lot of friends. You are already an amazing person, and remember this too, that you came into this world alone and you're going to leave alone. That's just facts. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the content thus far. And if you're brand spanking new to this channel, first of all, I would like to welcome you with open arms and say thank you for choosing to take time out of your day to come watch me talk. All right. And if you enjoyed the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and make sure to hit that bell. And once you hit that bell, make sure to turn it from personalized to all, so you get all notifications for all videos that I upload every Fridays, because I upload every single Friday on this channel, or at least I try my best to. All right. And if you are a supporter of the 8 Mil Productions brand and you would like to purchase some merch, the link to that is in the description below for you guys to go ahead and cop you some merch, and you can, show your friends that you support the channel, you support the brand, and you support, me and my love cake overall, because this is our channel, this is our baby, and just like our merch store is our baby. And if you're interested in my podcast, just know that I do have a podcast. The name of it is called the Amo Productions Podcast. And the link to that is in the description below for you to go listen to some episodes. I got around like between 37 and 39 episodes on that joint. So there's plenty of content over there for you to enjoy as well. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up. And make sure to timestamp or comment the point in the video that stood out the most to you and comment why. Last but not least, make sure to go ahead and share this video on all your social media platforms and with your friends and your family. The more you share this video, the more people that we can help, and the better, the collective can get, the more we keep sharing the wealth. All right. And if you are curious about the gear that I used to record this video, the links to those will be in the description below. And I'm gonna just be honest with you, when you do buy the gear or anything under the links, I do get a 10% commission. Just want to put that out there so that there's no confusion. And yeah, peace in and out with the highest vibes, and I'll catch you guys next Friday. And just remember, stay positive, stay vigilant.